host in another one of our BJC Connect live events. So we work in a rheumatology centre based out of Sydney, Australia, and it is common when speaking to clients that they ask about weight. What are the best strategies to manage it? How can they effectively try and lose a little bit of weight? And so the following education seminar is all about some of those more advanced strategies to help assist people in losing weight. So Monica, our really experienced dietitian, is going to talk about intermittent fasting and all the different types of fasting that are now out there, and a number of other strategies. And I guess this event's really good because she can go into those strategies in a little bit more detail. So what you're about to watch is part one. If you're interested in watching the rest of the seminar, then please consider joining BJC Connect, where you can access part two. But for now, enjoy the event. And if you like what you see, drop a comment, ask a question, give us a like, and we'll continue to do our best in releasing great content. Enjoy, everyone.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year, and thank you for coming this evening. Welcome again to my home, my kitchen. I've been doing some cooking this afternoon, and I'm hoping there's lots of questions out there for me tonight. I'm only going to talk for a small section of this talk so that there's plenty of time for questions. So we get asked a lot about more advanced strategies for weight loss. So for those of you that have seen me before or heard me talk before, you know that we are very passionate about anti-inflammatory eating. So there's a little bit of an example here of some of the foods that fit into the anti-inflammatory Mediterranean style of eating. You know that I give a lot of advice around portion sizes and meal planning and menus and how to help people with weight loss management. But tonight we're going to go a little bit further than that. We're going to talk about some of those questions around the usefulness of intermittent fasting or very low calorie diets. And often people ask me this just after big festive events like Christmas and New Year or Easter. So I just want to make sure I don't forget to talk about the fact that if you decide to do one of these more probably you call them stricter or a little bit more intense forms of weight loss, please try to still do them with an anti-inflammatory food focus in mind. Because a lot of you are either trying to manage inflammatory arthritis or osteoarthritis, potentially manage your sugar levels or cholesterol or blood pressure, we still love to follow the research regarding how those conditions respond very well to anti-inflammatory eating. So lots of fruits and vegetables, good quality fats like nuts and seeds and your fish oils, having lean animal proteins, but trying to balance that off with the plant protein. So adding a little bit of tofu or lentils and legumes, and looking after the idea of learning the art of mindful eating. So savoring food, being in the moment with food. And if you have any triggers to stress eating, having some strategies around how you can manage that. We're also quite keen on ensuring that we talk to everybody about sleep routines and getting good quality sleep, because we know that when you sleep well, you're actually more likely to lose weight or be able to manage weight. Good sleep also helps reduce the risk of diabetes and high blood pressure. So stress, mindful eating and anti-inflammatory foods plus good sleep routine is really important for a lot of the types of conditions that we're all managing. So please use the chat box, like Sarah said, to ask any questions as we go. So I'm going to start with talking about VLCDs, which stands for very low calorie diets. Now, these diets are 800 calories a day or less, and you can do them for 2 to 12 weeks. It is a good idea to have some medical monitoring around these, especially if you use a meal replacement, which I'll show you in a moment. But the aim of these is when you're doing your 800 calories or less, we want carbohydrates to be about 70 grams a day, but we still want you to maintain a good amount of protein at 50 to 60 grams a day to help with retaining muscle mass and encouraging your body to lose body fat. The mild ketosis you get from these very low calorie diets help to switch off your appetite, which After about 3 or 4 days of being on one of these, the first 3 to 5 days even, really difficult. Clients will email me, say, I'm not sure if I can get through it. But mostly if you can get through that first 3 to 5 days and you go into mild ketosis, your appetite actually starts to switch off. And then a lot of people find it quite easy to do for the 2 up to 12 weeks. I would say most of my clients will do 6 to 8 weeks. You can expect to lose about 1 to 2 kilograms per week on a VLCD diet. And there's 2 ways that we can do it. So most of you would have, might be familiar with or might have already used in the past a meal replacement such as Optifast. So Optifast is what we call a full meal replacement, which means you can eat it for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and it's been totally fortified with all the vitamins and the minerals that you need. 3 of these provide 600 calories a day, and then it's suggested that you eat 2 cups of vegetables or salad and you drink 2 litres of water, which brings it up closer to the 800 calories a day. There are people that, or lots of clients that use this in conjunction with eating. So they might do a meal replacement once or twice a day and then have dinner with their family, for example, or if they really like to have lunch to get them through the workday, and then they have their meal replacement at breakfast or dinner. Still really effective for weight loss. You just don't go into that level of ketosis that you go into if you do this 3 times a day and use it as a full meal replacement. So most of my clients over the years since Optifast has come out will lose the 1 to 2 kilograms per week, and most people will last about 8 weeks, depending on how much they would like to lose. The important thing with Optifast is that you have someone to support you to re-transition into food. I have seen a lot of success with Optifast with people keeping the weight off that they lose, but it's because we transition so gently and we transition well with portion managed meals as well as the choices of what you eat. And we transition back in 1 meal every couple of weeks to get your body reaccustomed to eating all your regular foods, so that then it doesn't get a bit shocked and put all the weight back on, which is what we don't want. The research around Optifast is good. It does show that people lose good amounts of body fat and not muscle wastage and water. Some people don't want to do a very low calorie diet using meal replacements or Optifast. They would rather eat food. So if you choose to do something like that, I do recommend having a read of the Fast 800, which is one of Dr. Michael Mosley's books. He's written the Clever Guts Diet, the Reversing Diabetes and Managing Your Sugar Diet. He was the founder of the 5-2 diet. He has changed his 5-2 ever so slightly to take in the Fast 800. So basically, the theory around this is that you eat food at that 800 calories per day for 2 to 12 weeks. So I have a little bit of an idea here to show you of what that might look like. When you do something like the Fast 800, you will end up also kind of intermittent fasting, because for most people, they will do the Fast 800 using 2 meals with about 400 calories per meal. So for example, I've got some scrambled eggs here with half a small avocado and some spinach, and that comes in just under 400 calories. Actually, all these meals, I calculated the calories this afternoon. They pretty much all come out at 350 to 380 calories per meal, give or take, then using a little bit of olive oil or having like a juice, for example. So this green smoothie is from our anti-inflammatory cookbook. It has 92 calories in it. So a couple of the breakfast meals would be the scrambled eggs or oats with raspberries and chia seeds. That's only 270 odd calories. We've got a chicken, vegetable and noodle stir fry. It's still quite a good portion. I actually was a little bit surprised myself when I calculated it this afternoon that the meal was going to be so big. So that would satisfy me for a little while, especially if I was only eating 2 meals a day. I also made a nice size piece of barramundi with a quarter of an avocado, some fresh lemon, and a quinoa and seed salad. And that was also less than 400 calories.
Hey, Mom,
So,
how do you calculate how many calories? How do you do it? Do you have a particular app or what are some good ways people can try and do that?
That's a very good question. You can either use Calorie King, which is an Australian-based website, and you just put in the food and it gives you an option of what portion you would like to know the calories of. It's got a very wide range of food. Today, I used some of the labels. So for the nuts, for example, I actually bought this in a little snack pack, which obviously had the label on it. The juice, we already calculated that in our cookbook. The slice of bread, the rye bread that I've made a vegetable soup, it was on the label. The oats were on the label, the chia seeds were on the label. But you can also just Google, for example, with the small avocado, I just wanted a small avocado, not what I knew in my head was a medium avocado. And I just Googled how many calories in half a small avocado, and it just popped up beautifully. So you can straight Google, you can use Calorie King. If you're using an app like MyFitnessPal and actually logging your food diary, it will calculate all of your calories for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So for most people doing the Fast 800, they would choose 2 of these meals and have them for brunch and dinner or lunch and dinner. And if you've come under the 400 calories like I did, it does actually leave you a little bit of space to say have an apple for afternoon tea or a juice, so you can feel like you're having a juice for breakfast and then you're having your scrambled eggs for lunch and then you're having a stir fry or your piece of fish for dinner. So you can kind of trick yourself a little bit into feeling like you're having 3 meals in the day instead of just 2, depending on whether that's difficult for you. With the Fast 800, similar to the Optifast, you start to transition back into meals, 1 meal a week, every couple of weeks to let your body adjust to having regular meals again. With the Fast 800, you do this for up to your 12 weeks, and then you transition into the traditional 5-2. That's the suggestion, where 2 days a week, you eat the 800 calories, and then 5 days a week, you just eat your normal diet, which we would encourage to be based on the anti-inflammatory eating with good portion management, etc. I have one client at the moment who's decided to make it a 5-3. He's finding that it works really well for him. He did 2 or 3 weeks of the low calorie, and then he merged into doing the 800 calories 3 days a week, and then he eats normally on the other 4 days a week. And the calories that you save in those 2 or 3 days that you're doing the lower days continues to help with weight loss depending on how much you would like to lose. So very low calorie diets can work especially well. The disadvantage would be being a little bit careful if you are quite active. A lot of people who do the Fast 800 don't do very much exercise in that first couple of weeks because the calories tend to be too low. You might feel a bit dizzy or faint, so you need time to adjust. Or when they're doing the 5-2 scenario, they will do their more active exercise on their 5 days and then have less exercise or more gentle exercise on the other 2 days. And then that works extremely well. Okay, so that's very low calorie diets. With intermittent fasting, the idea of intermittent fasting is that you don't necessarily need to do the very low calorie day or calories across the day. The idea is that you're eating in a very specific window and you're allowing your body to have fasting time or rest time. So a very popular way of doing fasting is the 16-8. So you fast for 16 hours and you eat in a window of 8 hours, which the popular time frame is 12 till 8 p.m. It is quite an advantage not to eat after 8 o'clock in the evening from a metabolic point of view, a weight loss point of view, helping your body get ready for good sleep. We suggest that you try not to eat past 8 o'clock. So with intermittent fasting, I normally suggest to clients to maybe bring it to an 11-7 type plan if you're doing 16-8, or even 10 a.m. where you'll break the fast and you'll have your dinner at 6 p.m. If 16-8 is too much fasting, a lot of people find 16 hours a little bit difficult, then 14-10 works really well as well. So you fast for 14 hours and you eat over your 10-hour window. And that can change depending on what kind of day you're having. You can eat breakfast at 8 o'clock and then finish eating at that 4 to 6 o'clock mark and have that really good fasting over the evening time. Or if you're busy in the morning and you have meetings, then you can have lunch and then eat your dinner at 8 p.m. and then try not to eat after that. A lot of people find intermittent fasting really practical, and they find this style of eating quite easy to implement. One, because it doesn't feel very restrictive. It does not feel like you're on a diet. And depending on your lifestyle, when I see clients from 6:30 in the morning and I'm, fully booked back to back, I find that if I do intermittent fasting on those days, I'm distracted, I'm talking to my wonderful clients, I'm having a lovely time. And then when I get my lunch break, I'm ready to eat, but I haven't been thinking about food the whole time. So depending on your schedule for the day, you can make intermittent fasting work really well. The research shows that it helps with reducing inflammatory biomarkers, and it's very helpful for weight loss. One of the big questions I get is about the keto diet. So I'm just going to show you, actually, sorry, before I do that, I'll just show you what an intermittent fasting day might look like. Because even if you break your fast at 12 o'clock, you can still eat regularly through the day. It's not where you have to restrict to 2 meals a day. So you might have something like your oats with raspberries and chia at 12 noon, and then you might have your bowl of soup with a piece of bread for lunch, throw in an apple, and then have your stir fry for dinner. So intermittent meal plans will still show you 3 regular meals per day. You are just eating them within that restricted time window. So real food, you feel satisfied. Most people don't feel hungry. And again, once you get used to it over a few days, people fall into this pattern of eating really nicely and get great results.
Okay, Mon, we have so many good questions. Well, they're all around a very similar thing, something that's very close to Sarah's heart. And I have definitely dabbled with fasting, and I think this was the first question I asked, and it's about coffee. So there's questions about, does coffee count? So does the coffee have to be within the window? And then it's about milk. What if you use milk? So there's a few things, but we're talking about tea and coffee. I think these are, very good, important questions for everyone's sanity.
It is a really good question. I do get asked this a lot. I find personally that if you have a black coffee or you are drinking black tea with no sugar, and I know that's not everybody's favorite, then you can kind of do that before you break your fast. If you are going to have a milk coffee, I do suggest that is as close to when you're going to break the fast as possible, because that is counted as food. Milk's protein, carbohydrate, it will turn on all of your digestive markers and your blood sugar levels and your insulin effects, etc. So if you were going to do a 14-10 approach, which is what a lot of clients do, it means they can have their coffee at 9-10 o'clock in the morning. So they still might have woken up at 6 or 7, had that little bit more fast till 9 or 10. They have their coffee, and then they might wait till 11 or 12 to have their first proper meal, and then have a decent afternoon tea, and then have their dinner. So a lot of people with intermittent fasting will have 2 proper meals and 1 significant snack. So it's not quite the same size as a meal, but it's still satisfying, because then they can fit the coffee in as their first, because obviously people, when they want a coffee, most people want that coffee earlier in the day rather than later in the day. So that can work very well.
Okay, cool. And then Nina's asked, will drinking herbal teas without any sweetening interrupt ketosis?
Not the same as having milk. So it's kind of just water. So no. Okay. Having a herbal tea is counted just as a drink rather than a calorie and carbohydrate, sugar inducing type of food, if you like.
Okay. So if you want a coffee and you want to keep your fast, it's either you've got to take those longer windows like the 14-10, or keep it black, no sugar, no milk, and then have your milky coffee later.
That is correct.
Okay, soz guys. Yeah, it's disappointing.
or you can do your fasting. The reason why a lot of people will do fasting from 12 till 8 is because if they're eating dinner with family, they would like to be part of eating dinner, which I think is completely fair enough and very important. So eating meals with people is very good for health. So I think if you're going home and wanting to be part of that, and you don't want to get lots of questions, especially if you've got children, younger children, and why does mum or dad never eat with us, that type of thing. A lot of people will fast more in the morning, and then so they can have dinner. If you are able to have that coffee early, and it is a milk coffee, but you're willing to either bring your dinner a lot earlier if it's able to fit into your schedule, then you can do the normal coffee in the morning because you plan to finish eating by 5:30 in the evening or afternoon. Mm-hmm. If you've got younger children like myself, fasting is never a 12 till 8 for me because we eat dinner between 5 and 6. So it's quite nice at this stage of their lives. If I'm fasting, I can eat dinner with them. I can still have a couple of hours before 8 p.m. for my body to digest and then shut down. But it also means I don't have to fast for as long in the morning. I can break my fast by 10 a.m. or even earlier. You can do 8 a.m. if you're doing the 10-hour window because you know you're having dinner early. Mm-hmm. So that part I individualize a lot for clients. So sorry that when we're speaking to a group, it's a little bit hard to say what would work best for you. I would love to be able to tell each of you what would be the system that might suit your body the best.
Cool. All right, a few more questions, Mom, before we keep going. So with intermittent fasting, this is from Attila. I think you've just covered it, but just in case, like you can move your window to be wherever, right? You can do it from 5 a.m. to 3 o'clock if that works. You can do it you can just shift it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I went to a very interesting talk pre-COVID, a fabulous dietitian that was doing a lot of work around intermittent fasting, but also around circadian rhythms and not eating past 8 o'clock, and whether you're an early bird morning person or whether you're a night owl, and the metabolic effects of using intermittent fasting windows. And his overall encouragement was to make that window in the morning and the afternoon shifted as early as you possibly can. Not to just go with what is become the traditional, I'll eat from 12 till 8 p.m. and then I'll fast for 16 hours. His view for blood sugar control, weight loss, cholesterol lowering, all things metabolic, he said the earlier you can shift that window, the better in his opinion that was. And I tend to agree with the idea that if you can be finished eating by 7 o'clock at night, it really does give your body more time in the evening to digest and relax, shut down, deal with releasing melatonin, serotonin, being ready for sleep. And also for people who suffer from reflux, giving you that time before you lie down, which is not great for the sphincter and for reflux to come up.
Okay, this is a good question from Joyce. I'll assume it's still around fasting, but let's say again you've picked your window that you're able to eat. Should you aim again just to have those 2 or 3 meals, or can you just snack it out? Can you just graze? I think that's quite a good question that might, again, suit some people more than others. So would you recommend one way or another, or?
I tend to find that clients feel they're more confident doing this if they stick to some regular meals. However, time-restricted eating, which is very similar to intermittent fasting, but time-restricted eating, TRE, there is some research to suggest that you can eat whatever you want in that 8 or 10 hour window and you will still get weight loss because you have then had the fasting around it. From my experience and the passion of talking about anti-inflammatory eating, it's hard for me to say just eat whatever you like and eat as much as you like, and if you do it within this window, I can still guarantee that your weight will be okay. I find that goes a little bit against what I've just been teaching people for 20 years. But the research does say if you keep it in a time frame, you can generally eat whatever you want in that time frame and you will still get good weight management because you fasted on either side of that window.
Excellent news.
I just find that a lot of people know that if they plan some meals, they probably feel a little bit more confident doing it.
Very wise. Very good one. Okay. These are all good questions. So we've got one from Barbara now. And again, it might be interesting to hear if anyone's tried it, because I think this one might be different see what you suggest, but then what different people might have tried. But with intermittent fasting, again, can you do it every day, or do you recommend it's just a couple of days a week? Like how many days would you be aiming or recommend people try it for?
That's a very good question. You do not have to do intermittent fasting every day. If you would like to have a more intensive period of doing intermittent fasting to see if you can balance out the effects of Christmas, or you've had a holiday and you would like to be a little bit more intensive at the beginning, then you can do it every day. But you can do intermittent fasting 2 or 3 times a week and still get really good results. I have lots of clients that intermittent fast on Mondays and Tuesdays because they may have had a bigger weekend food-wise. They might do it more either with food, or they might even combine the intermittent fasting with Optifast. I know a lot of my clients will feel like they might have had their birthday or they've had an anniversary, or if they've been away, then they will do intermittent fasting with some lower calorie, just so they can balance themselves out a little bit quicker. So,
hi again, it's Sarah here from BJC Health. So you've just finished watching part 1 of Monica discussing advanced weight loss strategies. If you'd like to finish watching the presentation, then please consider joining BJC Connect. You can do so for free, and part 2 of the event is available for you to watch at any time, as well as a whole heap of other recordings that we've produced. So the details for BJC Connect are appearing on your screen right now. But also drop your questions here. We'd love to hear from you, and any feedback or any ideas for upcoming webinars, then please let us know. But hope you enjoy